Hello and welcome back. We're going to be doing some more game dev today. Just hanging out, taking it easy, surviving the cold. All right. Yeah. So, when last we were checking out the documents, we were talking about the duelist class. This is your sort of swashbuckling, two swords drawn, swing around on the ropes and chandeliers kind of combat class. They are a dex based agility attacking class, as opposed to something like the pugilist, which is a dex based might attacking class, and the warlord, which is a strength based might class. Um, Same with similar to the berserker. That's a lot of jargon there, but nonetheless. So here, let's just kind of go ahead and chat, see what y'all are interested in covering today. Because uh, one of the things I did notice when we got off stream the other day was one of the things I had forgot to add to the duelist that is part of their core kit is that they get special attacks and maneuvers, and we did not cover adding that, adding at least in the clause that says that they get that. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump over to the berserker here. And if there's anything you want me to roll back to talk about that I'm mentioning here that was like either a previous stream or what, just let me know and I would be happy to do so. Um, Hang on a second. My stream manager here is showing that YouTube is being a bit weird. Um, right now it seems fine. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about there, but let's go ahead and copy the Berserker special attacks feature over since the language is going to be mostly the same. Um, so for the duelist class, they're going to get special attacks here. And that is going to be your kind of signature go-to attacks that are they're not replacing your melee basic attacks, but they are enhanced melee basic attacks and ranged weapon attacks and such. So you have your standard actions. These are your non-standard actions. These are things that only the duelist can do. And so we're going to go ahead and just drop that in at first level here. So yeah, right after duelist mark, that is our second level archetype feature. Panache, duelist grit. So duelist special attacks are going to go right here, organized alphabetically. What are specifically the duelist special attacks? I'm not 100% sure. That is a area of this document that I have not done. We only have the kind of basic levels for the duelist. So that'll probably be a future stream or something like that where we flesh out all of the different options there. You know and can perform a number of special attacks from the duelist special attacks list. Equal to your strength modifier. No, this is going to be your dexterity or your charisma. Right now, I'm going to say charisma. Minimum of 3. You can change your list of prepared special attacks when you complete an extended rest. Standard clause there. Everything seems to be good. All right. So let's go ahead and also just add in the tabs, similar to what we did for the Berserker here. Just add in blank tabs for our subclasses here, just so we can organize our page. All right, so our first tab here should be Mark of the Midnight Eye. Or, sorry, Mark of the Inward Eye. Midnight Steel is the other one, and I'm crossing the two. So our second one, it would be Mark of Midnight Steel. Why do you keep going to there? Mark of the Tactician and Mark of the. Well, that's not how you spell tactician. Tactician. Yes, there we go. And then Mark of the Thief. We can also jump around and work on other classes today. Since the duelist is a bit of it is a bit underdeveloped. Um, all right, that one's also just a little bit of leftover there. So we could jump ahead to the pugilist, which is our strength-based martial uh, unarmed fighting class. I quite like it. It is a variant of the class that I designed for 5e that Sarah played in our last D&D campaign. It is similar in name only to the Benjamin Huffman pugilist class that has kind of existed in the DM's Guild and third party area. But like it is its own unique class. It is not. I'm not taking notes from him or anything. I just prefer the name to monk or something like that. We could work on porting the ranger, which is once again a class that I am rather proud of, just because if you've played 5e, rangers are circumstantial. That's the kind way to put it. And I think I've mostly fixed a lot of that. We've got the sorcerer, which is our striker focused magic class. We've got the speaker, which is our bard druid cleric class, which is kind of a lot of those fantasies rolled into one. Um, and then we have the wizard, which is similar to the sorcerer in that it's a bit underdeveloped. Um, yeah, that's a lot of highlighted text to go back over and work on. Similarly, we do have a prototype for a class that, at least at this point in time, I was calling the thief, but realistically, I think when we go to actually like write up and publish the book, it will be called the rogue. But especially since Mark of the Thief is a duelist subclass, I'm betting this is going to end up being the rogue. Um, then we also have the warlord, which we have an outline and some ideas, but it is once again a bit underdeveloped. Um, so yeah, actually no. Oh, okay. It's at least it's written up. Cool. All right. So that is what we're looking at, kind of class wise, as far as working on. Um, One of the things that will probably need to be a little bit more developed, uh, and so it will probably require a little bit more research and discussion, would be ancestry options. So that would be we've got work to do for the Elder Elf is mostly lore complete. We will need to work on mechanics and such, but that's and I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing to go for today. Dompier, we can adapt our older version here and kind of begin to tweak some of that information, bring it into current design. The doppelganger is mostly lore complete. Um, the dwarf and half dwarf ancestry here is in a similar state as the Dompier, in that most of this can be just kind of translated and ported forward from previous versions. Similar situation for elves and half elves, humans and demi humans, and the Wyrmsfang, which is our dragonborn. We have the Fawn, which is basically lore complete. Uh, I've got early drafts for the Goblin and Hobgoblin and Orc and Half Orc, but early, so needing a bit more development. We've got a Golem ancestry, the Halfling ancestry, Harpy, Jotun and Giantkin, Kindred, Revenant, Seraph, Somnix, Tiefling, and Undyne. Most of which need either a lot or a little work, or to be spun forward from basic descriptions. Um, I think that's probably going to be the core stuff, since that is a lot of player facing abilities, classes, ancestries. One of these days, we'll probably do a stream on backgrounds because uh, backgrounds as they stand, I have a lot of them and they need to be cleaned up rather substantially. But once again, this is a solo TTRPG dev project, so there are limitations to my ability. And so a lot of what this stream is just me holding myself accountable and wanting to talk through and kind of share the game dev process with you and, you know, hold myself accountable so that it actually gets done. Um, yeah. So, with all that said, um, is there anything anyone would specifically like to kind of jump for, look into doing, or just want to talk about, or kind of maybe go back and look over, and just kind of chat about that? I am open to. I am open to basically anything. Um, okay, so let's let's go ahead and start working on the pugilist class. I feel like that might be a good place to just kind of get started and be discussing stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and copy our class table and core traits text box from the duelist. We're going to overwrite basically everything in there, but maintaining formatting and such is useful. All right, so pugilist. All right, pugilist traits. So, pugilist is a controller primary, striker secondary, power source of martial. As a pugilist, you gain focus with your dexterity ability score and your choice between your strength and your intellect score. So yeah, no, strength dex and dex intellect. And yeah, duelist was strength dex. No, sorry, no, it was strength charisma or dex charisma. So once again, more distinction there. And then we'll, since we have the nickname clause in here, those who have focus with their strength and dexterity ability scores are known commonly as unknown at the time. Those who have focus with their dexterity and intellect. This might be where we throw the name monk in there, just since that is kind of a classic 5e fantasy archetype. Those who have dex and intellect, that might be your monk, and maybe strength and dexterity, that might be your bruiser. Actually, let's just go ahead and put that in because I'm good with that. Known as bruisers are known as monks. Does that nickname clause really change much? Not really. It's something that I might tweak to give like a +2 to a skill thing or something, but that says berserker. That means that the duelist has the word berserker in it, which let's just fix. Duelist level for duelist level after first. Yes, there we go. Now, one thing that I should also note just with that language, because it does imply multi-classing. Multi-classing is not a part of this game. However, I do have a plan for like prestige classes or legendary classes after our cap of 10. And so those would have their own hit points and hit dice and such. So hit points at higher levels, yes, that is going to be per your pugilist class level. And so when you get your information for your legendary class, that will also be per legendary class level. So it is an important distinction to make. Plus per pugilist level. All right. So, and one other thing that I was thinking about yesterday after our stream, the duelist here calling out a specific action that you can take in the class. Why am I over there? Inside of the class on your table here. I don't think that that is the right call. However, I do think that with the pugilist class here, since you have different stances, that should be included. So let's just go ahead and remove the sleight of hand disarm there from agility. Especially since the way that that ability works is you're using your agility modifier instead sorry, you're using your sleight of hand modifier instead of your agility modifier. So, yeah. All right. So, the pugilist here. Pugilist is a might focused class with the dexterity core here. So, our might, we are automatically, yeah, I said the same thing twice. So, we are automatically going to get a might uh, attack attribute option of acrobatics. So, does that theoretically mean your might and agility could be the same modifier because they're both scaling on your acrobatics? Yes, that's the point of this class. However, similarly, you can use endurance when in the Iron Fortress stance. Those words will mean something in a second. You can use your animal handling when in your Raging Bull stance. And you can use your presence when in the Titan's Roar stance. Going to just slightly tweak this so that way everything's on a single line. There we go. Armor proficiencies, none, because you get unarmored defense. Weapon proficiencies. You do get some, it's just limited. Simple weapons, improvised weapons, and whips. Boom, there we go. Weapon training. You are trained to use a number of weapons you are proficient in equal to your dexterity modifier, minimum of 1. So, there we go. Then additional equipment provided by Origin, etc. And so that is our page break there. I'm going to do that, yeah. So that way the page break is still there, but we can do that. I'm also going to just make a note of something on here since we did change the might box there, that do not copy this table for future classes. There we go. All right, so our pugilist class features table here. So, our pugilist archetypes are called legacies. So we have here the pugilist legacy. Pugilist legacy feature. Boom. And nope, not the whole thing there. Boom. All right. So our previous notes here show I'm going to want to know why I didn't keep the same information for the pugilist special attacks rather than what has been kind of standard now for the whatchamacallit, the berserker and the duelist. So let me just quickly here. That might be a thing we update. Um, so right now I'm going to leave it off of the table. Um, so right now the only thing that's going into our column here is our martial arts die. All right, so we start out at a d6 for our first two levels. Then for our next three, we go to 1d8. Then for our next three, it's 1d10. Our last two is going to be 1d12. Okay. So, our first thing that we're going to start off looking at is our heroic resource discipline. Um, all right. So, for one, we drop the heroic resource there, and we are going to bring in our inline tag here just after the word feature. Boom, there we go. Pugilists draw their strength from extensive training and discipline. Discipline is a dynamic resource that ebbs and flows. There's our linking text throughout the heat of battle, fueling a pugilist's special attacks, abilities, and allowing them to hold their stance until the final bell tolls. Gaining discipline, and we have using, so we're going to go ahead and quickly change that to expending, just to keep with everything else. All right. Gaining disciplines. Critical exploit. Whenever a pugilist lands a critical hit against an opponent, they gain 1 point of discipline. Critical hits do not exist anymore. So, whenever a pugilist lands a critical hit, so discussing critical hits here goes back to what a lot of the changes for this game are from 5e. Because when I originally started making this game, it was a fork of 5e that was, well, that fixed a couple of certain issues that I had with their game design. And then the OGL, Draw Steel, all that sort of stuff happened, and it became its own TTRPG that has more or less a congruent but more unique identity. So, critical hits aren't a thing in the game anymore because you get the weapon, like when you are trained with a weapon, or actually I don't think this is a trained property, but when you make a weapon attack and you score a tier 3 or 4 result on your weapon attack table, you perform something that is known as a flourish. And these are critical effects. So you can choose from the list provided by your weapon what critical effect you land. So if you're trained with a weapon, this could be like, I grapple you, or I steal a weapon that you are holding and I pull it back to me. But one thing that all weapons have is a critical effect called wound. And that just does an extra die of damage, and so that is functionally your critical hit. So whenever a pugilist would land a critical hit against an opponent, what that would be anymore is whenever a pugilist uses the wound flourish, which doesn't sound as great. It seems a little bit. It sounds a bit more complicated than lands a critical hit. So I don't love that, but we are going to keep calling it critical exploit because that does sound quite nice. I do quite like that title. So yeah, whenever a pugilist uses the wound flourish, uh, flourish against an opponent. Not that this class is designed to work well with um, ranged weapon attacks, but whenever the pugilist uses the wound flourish on a melee no, should they gain discipline if they're just throwing his javelin? No, they shouldn't. No, because that could cause confusion if it's just makes a uses the wound flourish when making when determining damage from a melee weapon attack against an opponent. Okay, let's read that out. Just make sure that that actually makes sense. Whenever a pugilist uses the wound flourish when determining damage from a melee weapon attack against an opponent, they gain 1 point of discipline. Yep, that is a critical hit. And then similarly, meditation. When a pugilist takes a short or long rest, they lose all unexpended discipline points and gain temporary hit points equal to the amount of discipline lost. You might be saying, hey, they're losing discipline there. Why is that gaining? Because it's the next clause. When a pugilist completes the rest, they gain discipline equal to the maximum result of their proficiency die. So you gain some temporary hit points, and then you gain a bit of discipline. So you're always going into the next combat encounter with your maximum discipline. That is an important point. So you enter a combat if you are level 1 to 5 with 6 discipline points. When you are level 6 to 10, that is going to be 8 discipline points you enter combat with. And that is because we have an expending discipline stance here for maintaining your stances. So discipline is a heroic resource that degenerates over time. we don't need to have this 11 to 15 clause here because that's not going to be a part of the core book. And that's just due to, more than anything, development time. It's something that I am planning on working on and planning to do like an expansion of and for, but that is not going to be core book. But yeah, there's your little preview. Level 11 to 15, your proficiency die is going to be 2d6. Big secret. Delete row. There we go. Expending discipline. Maintaining stances. At the start of your turn, when you make an ability challenge to maintain your stance, you add your current discipline value to the stance check. After the challenge is resolved, you expend 1 point of discipline. You do not expend discipline points at the start of your turn when benefiting from a stance. Okay, so it's a great thing that we're doing this because one thing that you would catch from our last stream talking about the duelist, this looks like some classic target number stuff from old days of the RPG that do not exist anymore. So let's go ahead. Oh, excuse me. You expend 1 point of discipline, pugilist. You see, the thing is, I actually kind of like this because it is challenging. Do we keep target numbers exclusively for the pugilist class and this ability? I think so. I kind of like it. Maybe that's me being a little bit lazy and not wanting to change it. But I think a little bit is okay. So yeah, hang on, let's go ahead and read through the others. Performing tactical exploits. Each of your tactical exploits describes a martial stunt or maneuver that you can perform by expending a certain number of discipline points. So at the start of your turn, you're going to basically check to stay in your stance, and then you lose a point of discipline. You can also lose points of discipline by using your special attacks, but you gain by whenever you land critical exploits. There's probably going to need to be another way to gain. That might be stance dependent as well. Okay, so I am seeing actually a lot of things that can be tweaked. So this is a great class for a longer stream because, wow, this is outdated. You know what? We are gonna. I do think I am going to keep the target numbers thing in here. We're just gonna sidebar it, just because pugilists, I think, genuinely need it, and I think they're going to be unique in that sort of way that they use a target number for this one check. So let's go ahead and copy over our next piece of design. Pugilist stances. Um, Target number equal to 15 plus your pugilist level. Okay. This is what, heading 5? So yeah, this is where we're going to sidebar. Alt 6, sidebar, target numbers. Let's go ahead and jump to our previous bit of the rules where target numbers were a thing. And because I bet we're going to find some decent text to describe what that is. But if you're coming from like a D&D 5e sense, this is a DC. This is your what you're trying to hit when you roll a die. We mostly have we've basically entirely gotten rid of them, but we are going to keep them here exclusively for the pugilist class. Let's go ahead and jump to this section here. Okay, I guess it's not in there. Failing forward, ability checks, skills with different abilities, checks in 3 difficulties, passive, initiative. Where are target numbers? Okay, why did you bring me to 38 first? Is that the next one up? Bring me to number 1. Okay, first one here is in our common terms. Okay, great. That's probably something we'll need to carve out of. Oh, I don't think we actually have the common terms anymore. Well, one way or another, maybe not. Sidebar, target numbers. There we go. Yes. When a game master determines the result of a player's actions are exclusively pass fail, no negotiations or degrees of success, they set a target number, TN, representing the difficulty of the task. The more difficult the task, the higher its TN. Typical target numbers table show the most common target numbers. Yeah, no, we're just gonna copy that, bring that right on. Oh dear Christ, what the hell happened here? No, undo. Bad. There we go. So now, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna clean the formatting. Boom. There we go. These here are bold. This here has a space after the paragraph. This all should be at paragraph setting of like 0.25. What the hell is up with this formatting? Seriously. Like, I don't personally drink, but like, was I drunk doing this? This is nasty. This is awful. Okay. So let's see if we can indent. No. So let's just make a new table. I think that's going to be our best bet. Table 2 column. Actually, you know what? Let's go 4 column. Let's stack some of these. 4 column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deep. Okay, so first one here, we're gonna merge these cells. This is gonna be where we say, this is the typical target number table. Task difficulty target number. Task difficulty target number. Go. Boom. Bold. Very easy. Easy. Medium. Hard. Very hard. Nearly impossible. And then our numbers are in caret brackets here because they are temporary. We're not, this is going to be determined a lot by play testing, but right now they are multiples of 5. So a hard challenge would be a target number 20. Very hard challenge would be a target number 25 and 30. Realistically, do we need, should we need this table? No, because you're not going to be making target numbers out checks and such outside of the pugilist class. But I figure if we're going to go ahead and keep them into this class, we might as well include the rules just in case there is a GM out there who needs to employ this sort of uh, conflict resolution device. So this here gets our dark gray, which is just gray, as does this one here. And then right here gets our off-white gray. We remove the bars. And voila, we've got a decent looking table. Um, we're just going to go ahead and make a comment about these numbers here. Basically saying what I had already said. These numbers are temporary and subject to change with playtesting. So let's actually go ahead and format this in the same way that all of our sidebars are formatted, pushed over to the side just a little bit. Why is the table not going? Do I have to include the space after? Please. What? I guess we just shrink this side of the table and suck it up. I'm not going to. That's way too far as well. There we go. That looks good. All right. Let's also just kind of make a note here. About the pugilist as a pugilist, you use target numbers when difficulty of maintaining your stance. You roll your core dice like a standard ability challenge and compare the result with the target number. To determine whether or not you gain the effects of the stance until the start of your next turn. You gain the continuing effects of the stance. On a failure, you lose the benefits. No, I'm already running the risk of being repetitive on that second sentence there. Anything more is completely redundant. Then we just kind of indent that to 0.25. There we go. Pugilists are experts in versatility, able to employ their training and tradition on the fly. On your turn, you can enter one of your stances: the Way of the Iron Fortress, the Way of the Raging Bull, or the Way of the Titan's Roar as a minor action. The choice you make determines your stance ability and grants you additional flourishes when performing attacks using martial arts. So martial arts is going to be our next feature that we bring over. At the start of each of your turns, you make a skill challenge with your stance ability to maintain the stance against a target number equal to 15 plus your pugilist. No, excuse me. 15 plus your pugilist level. So at level 1, that's a target number of 16. At 10, that's a target number of 25. That doesn't feel right. Because that means your stance is going to be harder to maintain at higher level. Maintaining success at the start of your turn. When you make an ability, you add your current discipline value to the stance check. It's challenge for 1. After the challenge is resolved, you expend 1 point of discipline. There we go. Start of each of your turns, you make a skill challenge with your stance ability. Okay, stance ability. Okay, so that does come up. To maintain the stance against a target number 15 plus your pugilist level. When you make this skill challenge, you gain a bonus to the roll equal to your current amount, equal to your current number of discipline points. On a success, you remain in your stance until the end of your next turn. You exit the stance early at the end of your current turn if you fail your stance ability challenge. If you become incapacitated, are knocked unconscious, or enter another stance as a minor action. Okay. Once again, I don't love using pugilist level for your target number, just because that means that you are more likely to fail the challenge at higher levels. Though that does make things more dynamic. So that way, at a higher level, it's not going to be the same challenge you've made the entire time. So it just becomes kind of trivially easy. Plus, 15 plus half your pugilist level. Rounded down. Well, wait, hang on. That would be then a challenge of 20, so that would just be hard. Versus a challenge of 16, so medium. So that would always be medium to hard, whereas what it is currently is medium to very hard. So yeah, no, let's put it at half your pugilist level, rounded down. I feel like that is better. It still will grow dynamically, but at the same time, it's not going to be incredibly punishing. Yeah. Okay, so Way of the Iron Fortress. You enter a defensive stance, readying yourself to defend against incoming attacks. Why is that highlighted? I'm not sure. Stance ability. When you roll a skill challenge to maintain this stance, you make the check with your endurance skill, and you can use your endurance when making might checks. Stance flourishes. While in this stance, you can perform the following flourishes when you roll a tier 3 or 4 result on a martial arts attack. When you use wound or one of your stance flourishes is probably a good way to keep that gaining disciplines going. Uses the wound flourish or one of their stance flourishes. When determining damage from melee weapon attack and effects. From a melee weapon attack against an opponent. There we go. That is a nice little tweak there. Alright, so stance flourishes for Way of the Iron Fortress. Resolution of Fortitude. Until the end of your next turn, when you make a resistance challenge against an attack that targets your Fortitude defense, you can roll your martial arts die and add it to your results. No. Just no. Until the end of your next turn, when an opponent makes a melee weapon attack against you that targets your Fortitude defense, you can roll your martial arts die and reduce incoming damage by result. And so then we have one of these for reflex and will. This is wholly the defensive stance. This is I'm just tanking damage here. Until the end of your next turn, it makes a melee weapon attack that targets your reflex defense, and that targets your will defense. Makes a for reflex here, melee or ranged weapon attack. Makes a and resolution of will would be makes a spellcraft attack. Why don't we just make this just any attack? Because that's kind of what it's gonna be. Makes an attack roll against you that targets your will defense. Yeah. Makes an attack roll against you. Makes 2 against. There we go. Makes an attack roll against you that targets Fortitude, that targets Reflex, that targets Will. So this is a nice, easy ability. It's just damage mitigation. Yeah. Alright. Way of the Raging Bull. You enter an offensive stance, strengthening your attacks and readying yourself to dominate the battlefield. Once again, why is this highlighted? I don't know. Thank you. Past me. Alright, stance ability. When you roll a skill challenge to maintain this stance, you make the check with your athletic skill, and you can use your sanity when making light checks. Okay, that is no. Okay. So let's look back to our traits table here. Endurance. Yeah, animal handling is weird. I should have questioned that much earlier. So Raging Bull, it would be athletics. Huh. Make the check with your athletics, and you can use your sanity when making might checks. Let's check our table of skills here to see if there's something that's better. I do like athletics. Raging Bull makes sense. Using sanity when making might feels weird. So I know athletics is our only strength based um, ability attribute here. So that is definitely a thing. I know we have a lot of dexterity based, and this is a dex based class. So acrobatics we get as the attack attribute for free. Um, athletics is strength. I do like using that for your stance ability when you're rolling. Um, but for making might checks. Concordance, no. Deception, no. Diplomacy, no. Dungeoneering, no. Endurance, that is Iron Fortress, is whole shtick. History, not the Raging Bull. Insight, no. Investigation, no. Lore, no. Medicine, no. Nature, no. Navigation, perception, performance, no. I kind of like performance. Performance for Raging Bull, that's a contender. Um, presence, that is Titan's Roar. Religion, no. Sanity, no. Sleight of hand, no. Stealth, no. Streetwise or survival. So let's go ahead and change that to performance. You can use your performance. Go. And then also let's go back up to our class traits table here and fix this. Performance. Raging Bull. There we go. Let me also, since we had tweaked this table here, 0.69, you're not a good arbiter there. Oh no, that's cell vertical alignment. We're looking for column width. 2219, 201, 2115. So yeah, this should all be 2115. 2 dot. No, yeah. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. All looks good. And then we can just immediately resolve that comment. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right. So, stance ability for Raging Bull. When you roll a skill challenge to maintain the stance, you can make the check with your athletics skill. Makes sense. And you can use your performance when making might checks. Cool. It's just another option. You might not actually even use that or need to use that. But, having the option is better than not, I would say. I would argue. Give me just one quick second here. How's everyone doing here in chat? All right, all right. Cool. All right. If there's anything you want me to explain further, just feel free to pop that in there. I'd be happy to. All right. So, stance flourishes. Now, these are also going to be generating discipline points when you perform them. Crushing knockdown. The target of your attack must succeed on a target number 10 plus might, strength, athletics, resistance challenge, or be knocked prone. Resistance challenges no longer exist, but that's okay. We're going to fix that. Thunder Strike. Your attack deals 1d4 thunder damage, and you can immediately shift 5 feet. Deals an additional 1d4 thunder damage, and you can immediately shift 5 feet as a part of the attack. Bone Shaker. Target must succeed on a TN10 might plus intellect, sanity, resistance challenge, or be dazed. Okay, so we're going to keep the core spirit of these, but I mean, we're getting rid of target numbers. So we had a similar thing here with the pugilist. So let's go ahead, not the pugilist, the duelist. Gosh. With our panache spending. So this is going to be a condition inflict. Okay, that would be similar to our disarm here. Okay, so that actually is helpful in that it gives us language, but it's not helpful in that it's the right mechanics. When making an attack roll, you use your performance charisma modifier instead of your agility attack attribute to attempt to trip your opponent. The result of your attack is tier 3 or higher. The target of your attack is knocked prone. No. Because for the pugilist tier, we're already scoring a tier 3 or 4 result on our stance flourish. Until the end of your next turn. Oh no, sorry, that's higher one up there. The target of your attack must succeed on this or be knocked prone. Crushing knockdown. The target of your attack would then just be knocked prone. It would be an automatic effect. Right? I mean, that is the core idea of this. You are must succeed on a TN10 plus might strength resistance challenge. That's just not a mechanic anymore. Be knocked prone. Okay. So the target of your attack is knocked prone. Hang on, let me think back here because we have our pushing clause that we've gone to a lot for the shove attack, and that gives disadvantages based on creature size. So the way that this is currently worded, a level 1 pugilist could knock over Tiamat, and that's just not a thing that can happen. Well, I mean, it's a thing that can happen, but it's outside of the realm of verisimilitude. So, like, it's something that probably shouldn't happen, and there should be a clause in the game to address that. So, playing the game, rolling dice, actions. There we go. Come on, load. Thank you, Google. All right. So, we are looking for our shove action here. Shove. There we go. You attempt to destabilize a foe and push them away from you. For every size larger than you the target creature is, the distance they are shoved is reduced by 5 feet. Creatures that are greater than one size larger than you are not knocked prone. Creatures that are greater than one size larger than you are not knocked prone by this attack. That's still incredibly powerful just because let's say you're a small character, you can knock prone a medium character but not a large character. Makes it so you're fighting on a similar battlefield. But a small character like a halfling, you're not going to knock prone a troll. Trolls would be large, yeah. A medium character, you could knock prone a troll, right? Yeah, that seems more reasonable, more verisimilitudinous. Um, so yeah, we'll go ahead and keep that uh, as is there. Your attack deals 1d4 thunder damage. Immediately shift 5p as part of the attack. That's just good. Target of your attack must succeed on this plus this or be dazed. So, the target of your attack is dazed until the end of their next turn. Is there going to be a terminating clause here to restrict and balance? Off the top of my head, what does the condition days do? I'm not sure, so let's go ahead and check our conditions part of the rules. Oh, hey, it's all yellow text. Cool. Days condition represents a state in which a creature is temporarily impaired or confused. Reduce focus, loss of control. Whenever they would make a die roll that would normally involve their proficiency die, they just roll without it. Okay, so yeah, no, we don't need to add rider text to weaken that. Dazed is a minor condition as is. All right. Way of the Titan's Roar. You enter a commanding stance, strengthening yourself and your allies, readying yourself to endure the trials and tribulations of the battlefield. Decent flavor text, decent introductory text. Doesn't need to be orange highlighted for no apparent reason. Stance ability. You make the attack with your presence skill. You can use presence when making might checks. Seems good. Stance flourishes. Heart of the Lion. You roll your martial arts die and gain temporary hit points equal to the amount rolled as a part of your attack. Rally of the Eagle. You roll your martial arts die, and one creature of your choice that you can perceive gains temporary hit points equal to the amount rolled as a part of the attack. Thunder of the Dragon. The target of your attack. If the target of your attack has temporary hit points, your attack deals additional damage equal to your agility modifier. I don't hate this because it is a damage boost, but I do wonder. I do like the idea that this your attack deals your attack instead deals no damage and removes all temporary hit points as just a flat counter to that. Like that would be really annoying, but like as a player, That's pretty friggin' cool. So I'm thinking I might just change that there. If your target has temporary hit points, your attack deals um, additional damage equal to your agility modifier, or deals no damage and removes all the opponent's temporary hit points, whichever is higher. So your attack either does a flat bonus ability, uh, a bo- does a flat bonus damage equal to your agility modifier, or you just immediately negate all of their temporary hit points, whichever is greater. Um, so your attack deals additional damage equal to your agility modifier, or or if the target of your attack has temporary hit points, your attack deals no damage and removes all of the target's temporary hit. Your choice. There we go. So that way, this is always an option. So maybe your agility modifier is higher than your average wound die. So you just go for Thunder of the Dragon instead. But because it's a stance flourish, you still get your discipline. Um, or if the target of your attack has temporary hit points, sorry, now they just straight up do not. That is kind of mean, and I'm here for it. All right. So let's go ahead and jump back to our classes previous document. Tactical exploits. These are your special attacks. Um, this seems a bit overcomplicated for the special attacks clause previously. Tactical exploits. First, we remove special attacks there. Through careful and sometimes painful study, you've learned to carry and maneuver yourself as a martial artist. You have a strong understanding of humanoid physiology and how to turn the tides of conflict in your favor. Performing tactical exploits. To perform a tactical exploit, you must expend a number of discipline points equal to the exploit's level or higher. Easy, makes sense. Ready tactical exploits. You ready special attacks from the list of tactical exploits you have available to you. At first level, you prepare a number equal to your might attribute minimum 1, increases at 4th, 7th, and 10th level. So what I'm trying to do here, so what it looks like I'm trying to do here is spell slots, functionally. Martial spell slots from 5e versus what the Duelist and Berserker have, which is, hey, you just get a bunch of you just get a bunch of special attacks queued off of this feature. And you can change your list of prepared special attacks when you complete an extended rest. So let's just go ahead and copy that flat text, because I get the feeling we're going to be gotcha. So this one here, instead of taking an extended rest to swap, you can change one on a long rest and all on an extended rest. Okay, so let's go ahead and start kind of hybridizing these texts here so that it is better suited um for here from the pugilist tactical exploits list equal to your. Okay, so it says our might attribute minimum of might attribute. So that would be. So I mean, we are dex focused, or at least that's the goal. We are a dex focused might attacker. So this should be our dexterity modifier. Dexterity modifier minimum of 3. You can change your list of prepared special attacks when you complete an extended rest. Okay, so whenever you complete a long rest, you can exchange one of your ready tactical exploits for another for which you qualify. When you complete an extended rest, you can change your entire list. There we go. So we copy that, we put that there. Number of special attacks from Future's technical list equal dexterity modifier minimum of 3. Whenever you complete a long rest, you can exchange one of your readied exploits for another for which you qualify. There we go. There we go. And I think we just cover up everything there. Boom. I do like having this performing tactical exploits thing here. Does that need to go for the duelist? Because are we spending panache to do special attacks? I don't know. That's panache here is a bad example because I'm betting that this is going to be your standard basic attack, and then you can have a panache point spend. So let's leave that as is. Berserker, your special attacks. Expending Fury. When you hit a creature, you can add the following effects. Okay. It doesn't say that you're expending Fury to perform special attacks. So once again, it's probably an additional spend. You can spend Fury. So let's actually just go ahead and make a quick comment on here for both of those. Where is the special attack thing here? There we go. Berserker special attacks are considered always on sans Sans timeouts. Sans timeout limitations. I.e. 1 per S. 1 per short rest. Special attacks are not a heroic resource expenditure, but should have options at higher levels, question mark, to heighten their effects with an HR expenditure. And then we're going to basically copy this verbatim for the duelist. Okay, so Sans Berserker, we swap that for Duelist. Duelist special attacks are considered always on. Sans timeout limitations, etc. Special attacks are not. There we go. Comment. Boom. There we go. All right. So returning to the Pugilist. The Pugilist gets this specialty special attacks feature thing here. Now, I'm also going to just start creating that writer text here for the duelist and the barbarian, berserker. That's annoying how it does that, but whatever. Okay, so returning to the pugilist here. And I don't know what you can hear there, but it sounds like they've got a snowblower going. Give me one quick second. All right, I'm back. It seems like they might have moved on, but it is Snowmageddon out there, so we're gonna kind of just have to play it by ear if they come back. Uh, my deepest apologies. I am sorry, but I unfortunately cannot control the weather, so we're gonna have to just kind of see if the snowplow loudness returns. I hope it wasn't too frustrating. All right, so back to tactical exploits here. Yeah, so tactical exploits cost your heroic resource. And so that is another reason the more that I do like the kind of push and pull mechanic here with the performing flourishes and getting your discipline back in that way, and also having to maintain your stance to get access to other um, special discipline flourishes. So if you lose your stance, if you use too many tactical exploits, you might lose your stance, which might lose you some of your specialty flourishes. Or you can not use a stance, just kind of be fighting normally, gaining your discipline without risk of without losing your discipline by through your standard um, through your standard stance maintenance drain. Yeah. Um, and just using your special attacks. So yeah. Okay. So that is tactical exploits there. Just as the base, since it is a discipline spend special attacks. So class archetype pugilist legacy. Boom, there we go. We're going to get rid of the class archetype tag there. We are going to add in the class archetype banner ribbon ability here that has gone on every class up to now. So there we go. Copy and paste. Boom, there we go. When you reach second level, you become a part of a pugilist legacy, embracing a routine and combat style akin to the pugilist before you. Your choice grants you features at second, fifth, and eighth level. Legacy of the Ascendant Dragon, Legacy of the Indomitable Spirit, Legacy of the Open Hand, and Legacy of the Shadowed Soul. Here, I'll just go ahead and read out these discipline descriptions as well. The Legacy of the Ascendant Dragon channels the power and majesty of a dragon and its fire into combat regimen. Means you're going to get some fire abilities. You're going to get to throw fire at people. You might get some fire resistance at different points. I don't remember exactly everything, but you get fire abilities. You're kind of a Prince Zuko from Avatar. You can firebend a bit. Legacy of the Indomitable Spirit. The legacy of the Indomitable Spirit is the way of the relentless warrior, fueled by unwavering determination and inner strength. Pugilists of this discipline excel in enduring hardships, overcoming adversity, and turning the tide of battle through sheer grit and unyielding resilience. So what is this? You basically are just a better fighter. You get some more kind of classic fighter mechanics. You get a little bit more tanking. You get a little bit more punching, that sort of stuff. Legacy of the Open Hand is a defensive combat discipline that blends true strikes with graceful technique. Pugilists of this legacy excel at controlling the flow and nature of battle. So, like, this is going to get you maybe a bit more of your to attack. It might get you a bit more critical range, but it's also going to get you. I think it gets you some healing abilities as well. Legacy of the Shadowed Soul is a martial discipline that embraces darkness with every combatant, channeling shadowed sorceries to enhance their strikes and movements. Stealth, misdirection, striking from the shadows, blending martial prowess with an aura of eerie mysticism. One thing that I'm realizing we are missing in our copy over martial arts. Like we did not bring that over, which I mean is wrong. So yeah, discipline, expending discipline, pugilist stances, martial arts. This is kind of your core thing. It's really easy, so like that's why we overdid it. Why we overlooked it, and we have the martial arts die that we put on the table. But like, this is the actual ability that says, "Hey, this is what you get." Functionally, it's a weapon. So martial arts. Your practice of martial arts give you a mastery of combat styles using unarmed strikes and simple weapons. When you make an attack with an unarmed strike or a trained simple weapon, you can attack using martial arts. When you make an attack with martial arts, you can roll a d6 in place of the weapon's normal damage die. This die changes as you gain monk levels. Ew, no, pugilist. As shown in the martial arts column of the. Why does it say monk? I think we might have taken this directly from like a D&D source, just as far as standard text. While you roll a tier 3 or 4 result on the martial arts attack while wielding a trained simple weapon, you can perform a flourish from either weapon. Yep. So, using unarmed strikes, improvised weapons, and simple weapons and whips. When you make an attack with one of these implements, you can attack using martial arts. D6 instead of standard normal damage die. Changes as you gain levels, shown on the column. Also, it's just right here. When you roll tier 3 or 4, while wielding a trained simple, while wielding a weapon that you are trained with. A trained weapon. There we go. You can perform a flourish from either weapon. Otherwise, you perform a flourish from. You perform a martial arts flourish. Okay, martial arts, pugilist, simple weapon. Technically, I mean, true. Damage die, martial arts die, reach, melee, 5 feet, attacks. That seems a little bit odd. Melee basic attack, might versus fortitude. Okay, I'm just gonna make a comment here calling out formatting, question mark. Properties. Autonomy. Anytime you roll an attack with this weapon, you are considered proficient with the implement. Guess what? The pugilist is proficient with their fists. Martial arts damage die. You roll either your martial arts die or your weapon's damage die, whichever is higher. As you increase in level as a pugilist, your martial arts damage die increases. Level 1 to 3, 1d6, 4 to 6, 1d8, 7 to 9, 1d10, 10, 12. That's not the same as what we put onto the table here. So it's 2, 3, 3, 2. Level 1 to 2, level 3, 4, 5, 3, 2, 5, level 6, 7, 8, so 6, 2, 8, level 9 to 10. There we go. Flourishes. Stance flourish. Your pugilist stance grants you additional options. Wound. Your attack deals an additional 1W damage. So that's what. So we were talking about wound earlier. That's what it does. That's a critical hit in this game. You just deal an additional 1W damage. You don't double all your damage dice. You just deal 1W more damage. So a level 6 pugilist, your weapon attack deals 1d10 damage. So now it deals 2d10 damage when you wound. It's just that simple. Excuse me one more second. Just gonna kind of clear my nose out. All right, and rolling back in here. Okay. Oh, hey, it looks like the music stopped. Or is it? I don't know. I'm just seeing the levels on my player. Yeah, no, it seems to be going. Here, you know what? Let's actually just change the track. I think that's a bit better. Okay, yeah. Hopefully that will fix out and work through things a bit better. Still not seeing it show up on the waveform down there. Well, I'll have to recheck the stream and see if there's an issue there when we wrap. Okay, so there is martial arts there added in. So yeah, pugilist is kind of a more complicated class here. Also at second level, usually this isn't a thing that we do. Usually second level is just your archetype feature. But for the pugilist, they're once again bucking a lot of different trends. They get a special action. They get triage. which allows them to serve a little bit as a medic for your party. All right, triage. You can perform the triage action. When performed during a short or long rest, this action does not disrupt your rest. Good little bonus there. Important writer text. Triage. It costs 3 discipline. Um, Discipline points is your so it is, hang on a second. This, let's go ahead and just kind of pull open our standard actions because this seems a wee bit outdated. So let's go ahead and look over to defend because that is another action oriented. Okay, no. So armor point, discipline points. This is a major action ability. Requires no implement. Targets 1 creature. Reaches 5 feet. Okay. You apply rapid medical treatments to a wounded creature. Choose one of the following effects when you perform this maneuver. Battlefield. You stabilize a creature with 0 or fewer hit points. Roll a medicine check to resuscitate the creature. Regains 1 hit point. Wow, this is out of date. So let's actually go ahead and pull open our ability to, whatchamacallit, stabilize the dying. Okay. You stabilize a creature with 0 or fewer hit points. Technically speaking, you can't go fewer. We don't have a minus hit point track, but with 0 hit points. Yeah, let's just, you roll a, no. You make a wisdom medicine check. Reduce their current fatigue level by 1. Heal the target creature. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Um, so this is very similar to the stabilize the dying action. So I'm just trying to piece together where we are here. So you stabilize a creature. A creature is dying. You make a medicine wisdom check to reduce their current fatigue by 1. That's just automatically what happens with trauma. You automatically reduce their fatigue level by 1 once until they complete a long rest. That's good, like that. Incident. Target creature can spend 1 hit die, gain temporary hit points equal to the amount rolled. You can also end 1 condition affecting it. It could be charmed, deafened, frightened, or stunned. That's perfectly fine. You stabilize the creature with 0 hit points. The target creature regains 1 hit point and can immediately spend a recovery. Recoveries no longer exist and can immediately expend and roll one of their hit die and add that result to the number of hit points they heal. The target creature regains 1 hit point and can immediately boom, expend and roll one of their hit dice, adding that result to the number of hit points healed. There we go. Expend and roll one of their hit dice. Yeah. Just one, I think. Oh, hang on. Because this could get into a thing of pogoing. Um, so enroll, let's say, up to 3 of their hit dice. So that way, we run away from the issue of someone just kind of pogoing up and down, back and forth. So you, the pugilist, use your action. You spend 3 discipline points. They heal 1 hit point from 0, can immediately and then it is the creature's choice if they then expend up to 3 of their hit dice and heal that further. It still keeps, I mean, they're still spending a resource of their own, being their hit dice, to heal. So that's not going to last long term, but by having that greater hit point gain, we're combating the effect that they could just immediately go down again because they're at 1 hit point. So, like, if they have a damage over time condition, that would be persistent degenerative damage. They would pogo at the start of their next turn and just immediately be down again and need triage or medical attention or any of that. The target creature can spend 1 hit die. Can spend, once again, let's just change this again to up to 3 of their hit dice. Of their hit dice. Gain temporary hit points equal to the amount rolled. And you can choose to end 1 condition afflicting it. Actually, no. I think that is a wrong thing to say. Because this is a thing that can be done during a rest. So you spend discipline during the rest, and then immediately they have 3 hit dice of temporary hit points. Well, wait. Temporary hit points expire at the end of the day. Hit dice regenerates slowly. This is still a discipline point cost. So this would be a good way to bolster a wounded teammate. And like, so you come into a battle with a bit more actionable hit points. And then because your pugilist gains discipline on the completion of short long rests, you would either have to take another short rest in order to get them back up to full, which is a bit annoying, or they go into battle at a bit of a discipline deficit. So no, we can keep it as spend up can expend up to 3 hit dice. And gain temporary hit points equal to the amount rolled. Also, you can end one condition affecting it. Can be charmed, deafened, frightened, or stunned. You reduce the target's fatigue level by 1. Creature can only benefit from this ability once until they complete a long rest. Yeah, so bam, you are now no longer fatigued, and then I can't keep hitting them with trauma recovery. They need to take a long rest, and then I can bam them again. Special. When you perform this ability during a short or long rest, you can expend 1 discipline point instead of 3. When you do so, the performance time increases to 10 minutes. Yes. So instead of major action, that becomes 10 minutes. It's just costs less because you're doing it over a longer amount of time, and it does not disrupt the rest. Okay. Once again, good stuff. Good stuff. Then, all right. Then we move on to our kind of other core abilities here. We've got our Paragon talent. This is the exact same text. Boom. There we go. You get feats. Congratulations, you are eligible for feats. All right. 4th ability, you get Faint. When you take the defend reaction and reduce the damage to 0, you can make a melee weapon attack as part of the same action. I actually really like this. This is good. This is good stuff. So you take the defend action, you spend an armor point. It's a bit it sucks a bit just because that is a core bit of your damage mitigation, but you defend, you immediately follow that up with an attack. Let's do a bit of changing here. You can make a martial arts attack as a part of the same reaction. You take the defend action. Defend shouldn't be bold, it should be italicized. And reduce the incoming damage to 0. You just get a free attack. So like I am imagining this sort of pit fight scenario here where you have a pugilist fighting another pugilist. They immediately do, attacks back and forth trading, and then as the other member in the fighting pit attacks, you defend, you reduce the damage to 0, you get an extra punch in, and then it becomes your turn, you punch again, they defend, they punch you. Like it becomes this endless series of triggering. I take another attack here, and it becomes this sort of hasty, frantic DPS race as you're both just punching each other over and over again. And then sometimes you'll get critical exploits here, and so you can throw in additional special attacks, or not additional special attacks, but you can throw in additional flourishes to either knock them prone. Like there's a lot of strategy in fainting. So you feint the attack, you reduce the damage to 0, you make an attack, you throw an attack, you knock them prone, then now you have advantages, you throw another attack, you push them. It's some classic boxing, WWE, martial arts, like sort of stuff. Like very theatrical um, combat stuff. Improved melee basic attacks. Do we do this? Because I mean, you're not gonna. So the interesting thing here is you don't get the ranged option, which fair. You're a pugilist. You're fighting. You're you know improved melee basic attack. We even kept the berserker line here. We man, this is a crusty document. Um, with the melee weapon attack tag, we can resume. Use this here. Result improved melee weapon attack. I'm not opposed to it. Um, Once again, um, this is in place of multi attack. So like instead of getting multi attack for more damage, you just deal more damage with your attacks. So yeah, let's go ahead and copy this over. Improved melee basic attack, 4th level. We're fixing that pugilist feature. When you make an attack roll with the melee weapon attack tag, you use the result from the improved melee basic attack chart. Let's go ahead and look over to our berserker and just see if this matches the text. Yeah, basically, just because they get both. Improved melee basic attack, at will major action, same thing. Oh, I also forgot, in our hypothetical pit fight scenario, if you roll low, that triggers a martial opening, and so you can get an attack of opportunity against you. So theoretically, hold with me here for a second, because this is kind of nuts. Pugilist A makes a melee weapon attack against Pugilist B. They do their attack roll. Pugilist B uses their reaction to feint. Feint could then reduce this attack to 0. Let's say hypothetically it does. So then they, as a part of their reaction, they then attack here. They then attack Pugilist A back. Then Pugilist A, well, no, sorry. Because this is a melee weapon attack, they're rolling to hit damage-wise. Let's say they roll a 9 or lower, which opens a martial opening here. And so then Pugilist A is like, hey, martial opening. I immediately use my reaction to make an attack of opportunity against you. So then as the direct result of one action taken, you have 2 more attacks being taken place, and it is still Pugilist A's original turn. So that's what I mean when I say that this could get a little bit hairy and out a bit crazy as damage gets thrown back and forth. So yeah, no, I do kind of love that scrappiness that is being thrown back and forth. It definitely could be a case where it becomes a little difficult to keep track of whose turn it is, just because you're throwing things back and forth. But we're going to kind of have to play test that out and see. Because like if it's a one-on-one thing, sure, it's a little dumb, but it's also a little bit fun. Maybe even a bit more than a little bit fun. Yeah. So those in chat, let me. What do you think? Is that too crazy? Is that what do you think? Leave that either in chat or in the comments below. I'd love to read what you think about a pugilist on pugilist battle, or like a pugilist on berserker battle. Like that sounds fun. It sounds like something I would love to either take part out in or just in general. Unarmored defense. You get this at 4th level. Why? This does not feel right. Do we at least get simple armor? No. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to change this. You're going to get light armor as a proficiency here. So that way, early on, you're wearing light armor. It's going to help protect you a bit. And then as you level up, your armor is kind of going to be slowing you down so that eventually you would shift to an unarmored defensive stance. You're going to get bonus armor points when not wearing armor because you have learned to defend yourself as a fighter. So you can either choose to keep your light armor to get your, I believe, your bonus resistance and those standard armor points that come with it, or you can shed it for more armor points. And so this is going to be the same sort of thing that the Berserker gets at an earlier level. So let's go ahead and look at that. Unarmored defense. Yeah, they get it at 1st level here. You gain 3 armor points when you are not wearing armor, and add your Berserker level to your Fortitude defense. You gain an additional armor point at 4th, 7th, and 10th level. So this is the exact same thing. It just changed it changed a couple of things because it's coming online at 4th, so you get 4 armor. So let's go ahead and jump back to the pugilist here. All right, unarmored defense. This is a 4th level pugilist feature. You gain 4 armor points while you are not wearing armor, and add your pugilist level to your reflex defense. You gain an additional armor point at 7th and 10th level. There we go. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did for the Berserker with their unarmored defense and put a comment here that this has to scale with standard issue worn medium question mark armor. Should be better than basic light armor, but since basic light armor can confer a resistance, it needs to be comparable. You can choose to wear light armor and gain those armor points and resistance, or you can choose to go unarmored points and gain the unarmored armor points, which should be more armor points than your light armor because you don't get the damage mitigation from the resistance. This is a resistance up game, basically. So, yeah. Same comment going in here. Add in our spacing. There we go. Likewise, I actually want to also leave a comment here making note of what we had said. About this coming online later. This ability comes online later than comparable classes. This is by design. The pugilist has proficiency in light armor so that they can protect themselves at lower levels, and then narratively shed that armor for their own martial defense. Has this sort of the armor was holding me back. Or was used for training. Vibe to it. There we go. Comments there added. At 7th level, you gain 3 additional skill or tool proficiencies of your choice. That's a nice little thing there. That is, it's a bit small of an ability for 7th level. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of disappointing. I mean, on one hand, not all levels can be bangers, but it's a choice. I do think that since things will scale up, this should be fine. Okay, so our last capstone abilities for this class. Tolling of the Iron Bell calls the faithful to their knees. Hear the sunbeam's broken magic spell. As a reaction to being stunned or knocked unconscious by an enemy within your melee range, you can immediately make a melee weapon attack against the attacker. If you roll a tier 3 or 4 result, you do not gain this condition. I don't want to just make that the 7th level. Well, make that into a 7th level ability and then add on a 10th level capstone. I think that is a fun little bit there. And then Ready to the Bone. As a reaction to rolling initiative, you can roll a number of unspent hit dice equal to or less than your pugilist level. You gain temporary hit points equal to the amount rolled. Okay. And I know it seems redundant there, but the equal to or less than your pugilist level, that is text there for legendary classes in the future. So you can choose to roll your legendary class hit dice as a part of this feature. It's just you can't expend a number of hit dice more than your pugilist level. So you can roll 10, and 5 of those could be legendary class dice. Then you just have your pugilist, so like 5 of your pugilist hit dice to go for the rest of combat. So that is a necessary clause there, even if it seems a little So yeah, let's go ahead and bring these 2 abilities over. Boom and boom. Tolling of the Iron Bell. We're going to drop that to 7th level because this is just it is a condition thing here. As a reaction to being stunned or knocked unconscious by an enemy within your melee range, you can immediately make a melee weapon attack. A martial arts. Once again, martial arts attack against the attacker. If you roll a tier 3 or 4 result on this attack, you do not gain the condition. Just a fun little. Not only is Stunning Strike not a thing that is a part of the core class, it'll be a thing that you can pick up within your tactical exploits, but this is just an anti-Stunning Strike ability. And so having that come online a little bit earlier, rather than just as the capstone, it feels good. Ready to the Bone is a simple kind of thing here. So I think this is where we actually are going to use exalted melee basic attacks. Yeah. I feel good about introducing that here. It's a capstone ability. You're going to be dealing more damage. That's intentional. Exalted melee basic attack. Once again, just going to be melee, not ranged. 10th level pugilist feature. Whenever you make an attack roll with the melee weapon attack tag, you use the result from the exalted melee basic attack chart. Melee weapon attack tag. Oh, there we go. Pugilist basic attack. That means that this is Berserker there as well, so let's just nip that. Alright, and what does this do? It just straight up 2W becomes 3W, 3W becomes 4W, 4W, and 4W becomes 5W. It means you're gonna hit like a truck. Yeah. And then ready to the bone there. Boom. There we go. Let's see here. What needs to be done? And of course, this is once again, everything is subject to play testing. Right now, what we're doing is we're laying out mostly a bit by vibes. Does this fit how we want the game to be played? Does this fit the class fantasy? Just kind of laying things out, having a roadmap for where we want the class to go. Yeah, and because martial arts is counted as a weapon, that is something that can trigger this. A martial arts melee weapon. There we go. Yeah, that's. Um, martial arts. There we go. All right. So I think that is the updated pugilist class. On one hand, this is a more complicated class to play. You're balancing a lot of different things, but I think that this is. I would have a good time playing this class. I think that this is a slightly more prestige, slightly harder to do combatant class. The Warlord is going to be pretty simple. The Berserker is pretty simple. The Duelist, it's got a little bit of complexity, but it's mostly pretty straightforward. The Pugilist, this one is a bit harder. And so I think that that is desirable to have as an option. Um, so yeah, we could kind of keep going here because I do have a lot of tactical exploits that I have written up here. But I think that that might be another stream. I'm kind of feeling a bit of um, a bit of the length of this one. I'm still kind of getting used to. I'm still like strengthening my muscle and my mental stability as far as streaming goes, and so I think I'm gonna call it here for today. But thank you so much for tuning in and checking this out. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care, stay safe, stay warm, and I'll be seeing you. Bye.